Hello, everyone. Oh man, sorry, my computer is possessed by the devil, and I just wanted to touch base with everyone about the craziness, wild, the wild Winnipeg situation. Sorry, I'm just gonna try and get away from these lights. Sorry, the lighting's not great in this situation. Oh, my hotel dress got leaked. Oh well. I'm not going to be here for very much longer. So, yeah, well, I'm getting some threats, um, but I think I'm not taking it very seriously. I did send it to the police just in case, things get ugly. But it's a weird time we're living in, so you never know what's going to happen. Anyway, I apologize for this rambling live stream or YouTube stream or whatever it's called. But I'm so wired from what happened yesterday that I'm having a hard time sleeping and focusing on other things. Like today, which is going to be the University of Winnipeg at 2 p.m. Central, which is Winnipeg time. That's I guess it's 1 o'clock. No, I can't think. Well, maybe I made a mistake on my. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. University of Winnipeg, in front of the castle. It's evidently downtown Winnipeg. I've never been to the University of Winnipeg before. I've been to the University of Manitoba. In 2005, I was there, and it's quite a different experience this year at the university. Oh, okay. Is that true? I have it's associated with paranoid schizophrenia. Well, perhaps. I doubt it somehow. I think that's nonsense what you're talking about. But hey, you do you. Anyway, yesterday was incredible. I'm having a hard time sort of just processing everything that occurred. We had a confrontation with the director, Daniel Page, who's my videographer, and I had a confrontation with the director of University of Manitoba Press. I have a video of that where we just asked him about University of Manitoba's press calling me a residential school denier, and did he think it was appropriate for his press to basically encourage activists to go after me? And University of Manitoba Press, you're going to be accountable for what you've done. Anyway, so that was interesting. And he was a deer in the headlights. He was not expecting us to show up in the lobby of the University of Manitoba Press. And then we went to the Spectrum Street epistemology session, which was people drumming, people throwing the mats on the sacred plants, which are supposed to be sacred. So I don't think that's appropriate to be throwing things in there. And dealing with people asking questions, and the drummers tried to, drum us out, but I have a sound system. So I'm able to raise my voice over any drumming that happens, and I will just continue to raise my voice and do these events. It doesn't bother me at all. So people are having a temper tantrum, and toddlers, for people who know toddlers, you don't give in to the temper tantrum. You have to just keep on doing and basically not accept. You can't accept it. Otherwise, they'll just continue to have temper tantrums. And that's what's going on here. People don't understand the purpose of a university, which is for ideas to be discussed, for evidence to be examined, and to follow the evidence wherever it leads. So that was I thought it was I think it's the best street epistemology session I've ever been involved in. It was just incredible. And once the drummers realized that they were not going to be able to be successful with their temper tantrum, then we had a real event. And I believe I've posted the live stream done by Todd McDougall. And about 37 minutes in, that's when the actual event starts. And there was an incredible student from the University of Winnipeg, very, very thoughtful. Michael Melanson was there. And I know him from my research group, but I didn't know it was Michael Melanson. And I was talking to him in the street epistemology, and I was thinking, wow, this guy really knows a lot about the residential schools. That's amazing. But of course, I've been interacting with Michael Melanson for the last 4 years. So, that was incredible. And so I said, when I came back to the hotel, Michael, were you there? Was that you? And it was Michael. So that was incredible. And then almost at the end of the event, this very, very nice, kind Aboriginal man, student, I think he was a student, said he wanted to participate, and he said that he thought that that I was hateful, that my views were hateful, and we had a discussion about whether my views were hateful or not. It still wasn't clear to me why he thought that my views were hateful. We discussed my views, and then we discussed whether they were hateful or not. And his view was if the knowledge keepers believe that there's 215 children buried in the Kamloops apple orchard, you must believe them because they never lie, and the Creator put them on earth for a reason, and therefore you must believe them. That was his view. And that obviously I think that view is not valid. And if you are going to have that view, we are not going to be able to pursue the truth. Like you'll not be able to find the truth through that method, because the knowledge keepers are not trustworthy in terms of their views. They are not critical thinkers. They're mired often in very, very disturbed memories that they have, and it's not a valid approach. I'm sure they're very nice people and so on, but they don't have the objectivity and analysis necessary to keep track of what's going on in this complex history. So this is a huge barrier to reconciliation. If you're going to say you must accept the views of the knowledge keepers, and if you don't, you're a hate monger. That's sort of, and he wasn't being so blunt about it. Maybe in the end, he came to understand that asking for evidence and trying to understand things is not an indication of hate. But anyway, we did the event. We had a lot of interaction. It was fantastic. And all the anger and animosity that I was seeing can be directly pinned on the University of Manitoba. The University of Manitoba is not an academic institution. It should not advertise itself as such. It is a university that is run by activists, especially the activists Sean Carlton and Negon Sinclair. Which brings me to Negon Sinclair. And I know I've been insulting Sean Carlton and Negon Sinclair a lot, and I'm turning over a new leaf, and I'm not going to do that anymore. So I've learned, to keep myself going, often I resort to what I perceive to be humor. And this woman showed up yesterday, and she told me how much, because I joked that Negon wasn't read, because he said I was doing a speech or a talk, and I was doing Spectrum Street Epistemology. It was very obvious from my materials. And so I said that perhaps it's because Negon comes from an oral tradition that he can't seem to read properly, and he wants to recapture his orality. That was my joke. And in hindsight, I regret that joke, because the woman who showed up was hurt by that. because she saw it as applying to all Aboriginal people, when I was just really trying to take a dig at Negon Sinclair. And I realize that now, that it's not just Negon Sinclair here, it's Aboriginal people more generally. And I'm not trying to say that Aboriginal people can't read properly, because many Aboriginal people can read and I know a number of very accomplished Aboriginal people who read, but I can see how that was interpreted in that way, and I do realize, and so I told her I was sorry that she had been hurt by that comment. And I have a bit of a cruel streak, I've got to admit. Anyway, that's not good to be cruel, and so I'm gonna try not to. I'm gonna try not to do that anymore. So I realize things are getting serious now, and trying to be a jokester all the time is maybe inappropriate in this particular context. Anyway, getting back to Negon Sinclair, who, although I'm not going to insult him anymore, I'm going to be critical of him. I think he is an absolutely terrible academic. I watched an event by him with him and Sean Carlton on residential school denialism, where he was talking about 4 facts. He was so incoherent that I couldn't even determine what the last 2 facts, what he calls 2 facts, he was talking about. And they were not facts. They were things like the residential schools were the most violent thing that's happened in Canadian history. That's an argument that you could have evidence to present for, but it would not be considered to be a fact. So he's not accomplished in terms of his argumentation. He's an activist. He's getting by because he's the son of Murray Sinclair. That's why people pay attention to him. Anyway, he's going to be on an event at 12 with the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation. That embarrassment that is associated with the University of Manitoba, which just got $20 million. It has records. It's a repository of records for the public to study the residential schools. That's part of its trust deed, yet it's keeping those records secret so that we cannot have like an open examination of these records. And those records need to be made public. And that money, that $20 million, should be yanked from the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation if it does not make those records public. And so we really need to push for that to happen, because what they're going to do if they don't release those records is it's going to be used by these activist researchers to basically say whatever they want to say about this period in human history. And we need openness, we need honesty, we need transparency. And that National Center for Truth and Reconciliation is the opposite of that situation. So Negon Sinclair is going to be talking at 12. I've signed up for that event, and I posed 2 questions on Kamloops. I can't remember exactly what the questions were, but I'm going to be watching to see if those questions are answered, but they won't be, because Negon Sinclair never answers any of my questions, because he thinks that, it's like debating with someone who thinks that the earth is flat and that gravity doesn't exist. Those are pretty much his words. And that's pretty rich coming from someone who is so incoherent and unaccomplished as him, who just gets by on being an activist and not having any, sort of depth to his understanding of anything. Anyway, so I'm going to listen to that event. And then the event is on how residential school denialism is a barrier to reconciliation. That's the event. And, sorry. And then, I'm just trying to get this in. So that's the claim. Residential school denialism is a barrier to reconciliation. That's the claim that we're going to be examining at 2 p.m. At the University of Winnipeg. And, Negon Sinclair, I assume, would, on the claim residential school denialism is a barrier to reconciliation, would strongly agree. with that, and I would strongly disagree. But I want to see if I can discern his arguments, but he's so incoherent and he's so lax in any kind of rationality, just because he's so coddled. It's got nothing to do with him being Aboriginal. He's in fact, his mother is not Aboriginal, and he largely grew up in a completely integrated environment. The reason why Negon Sinclair it doesn't have any merit as an academic is because he's lauded by everyone all the time wherever he goes. He's never challenged, and he never discusses his ideas with anyone who disagrees with him. And when that happens, you become a human being who cannot realize your full potential. So Negon Sinclair, if you're listening to this and you want to improve your understanding of things and be able to argue more articulately, you should engage with people like myself, Tom Flanagan, Michael Melanson, who lives in Winnipeg, who has an excellent understanding of the residential schools, Nina Green, an incredible researcher, Rod Clifton, who also lives in Winnipeg, Jaime Rubenstein, who also lives in Winnipeg. So there's lots of people in Winnipeg, Brian Giesbrecht, who disagree with you. And if you want to improve as an academic, you should widen your horizons and stop surrounding yourself by a bunch of yes people who probably are just manipulating you and don't respect you at all anyway. Like, that's what you are. You're a mascot for the University of Winnipeg. University of Manitoba. Anyway, I haven't had any interaction with University of Winnipeg. University of Winnipeg has not done anything, so they're not part of the Hall of Shame, although they have done some terrible things with respect to the trans activism issue, which I'm not going to get into because that's another topic. But in terms of their interactions with me, I have no complaints. And so I'm looking forward to it. And I see Daniel Page is in the comments. Daniel has been wonderful. He's an incredible videographer. He's helped me a great deal, and his wife as well, Shireen. I couldn't have done this event here in these two events in Manitoba without Daniel and Shireen. Anyway, I'm just looking to see if anyone. I haven't been able to follow the chat, obviously. So this idiot Mel. Who's got some problems, obviously, so psychological problems. So anyway, I'm just looking for things, what's going on. I'm looking forward to seeing people. So it doesn't look like there's any real questions. People are just responding to this idiot in the chat. So we'll see what happens at the University of Winnipeg. It's in downtown Winnipeg, which I know is a large Aboriginal population, but we had some really, really great conversations with Aboriginal people yesterday, even people who obviously strongly disagreed with me. And, for Aboriginal people who are listening to this, you deserve honesty. You deserve people to have honest conversations with you so it can help everyone to understand what's going on. And what's happening at the University of Manitoba is absolutely outrageous. And really the real, victims of what University of Manitoba is doing is going to be to keep the marginalized Aboriginal population isolated and dependent and continuing to have these terrible problems that are facing that population. So I'm not sure if it's Murray Sinclair who, and this is one good thing that Murray Sinclair has said, if it's from him. In order to have reconciliation, we must have truth. And I truly believe that. But in order to have truth, you need to have honesty, and you need to have meaningful engagements with people you disagree with. And Aboriginal people deserve that. And that's what you're going to get from me. I will never be dishonest with you. I will never lie to you. And if you want to have some honest conversations, come to the University of Winnipeg today at 2 p.m. and we can talk about various aspects of the residential schools. And I realize I realize that I can be wrong. I also realize that I can be cruel at times, but I don't think it's a good thing to be cruel, and I'm going to try to avoid that in the future, even when I'm provoked endlessly by people like Negon Sinclair and Sean Carlton. So I hope everyone's having a good morning. I'm going to be heading off soon because I want to listen to this event that Negon Sinclair is going to be on, and then I will discuss the claims that Negon Sinclair puts forward in this event. And it's an open invitation to Negon Sinclair and Sean Carlton if they want to come to the University of Winnipeg. I will treat you with respect now. I realize I've been kind of nasty in the past, but you've been if you want to talk about nasty, look at the things that Negon Sinclair and Sean Carlton have done. Now, I realize two wrongs don't make a right, but you can understand why I tend to get a bit feisty and hit back at people who are just being so idiotic and acting like just complete bad actors. And so I just wanted to teach them a bit of a lesson. But I realized that was, there's a time for that, and that time is over. And I think it's time to get really serious now in terms of discussions. Thanks very much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you 2 p.m. Central at in front of the castle at University of Winnipeg. Thanks very much. I'm just trying to save the chat. I would like to save the chat if I can, but does anyone know how I save the chat on the live stream? I don't think it was saved last time I did it. Yeah, I want to save the chat. I'm just going to wait. Okay, Christina has copied and pasted it, so she's going to email it to me. I'd like to have it saved onto the. I don't. I do the live stream sometimes, and I just do the pre-recorded YouTube videos sometimes. This is the second live stream that I've done, and I realize there's a lot of good comments. Some really idiotic comments too, obviously, but it's. I don't care. Like, you can insult me, and I don't. It's irrelevant. I just sort of see it as, I don't know you, so if someone who I respect is insulting me, then obviously I'm going to care about it. But if there's just some idiot, trying to discourage me from discussing things, that's not going to work. I've been around. I'm an old woman, and I've been around a long time, so that does not bother me. I'm just waiting to hear about the chat, how to save the chat. But Christina's going to copy it, but I just prefer to have it in the actual video. Okay. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I'm going to have the chat, which I'll post in a separate thing. I'm just cut and pasting it, but it's not preferable, but oh well. Anyway, have a great day, everyone. If I don't see you, I'll be back in Calgary tonight, and then I will do a breakdown of everything that's happened, because I think it was very significant what happened yesterday, and I think today is going to be quite interesting too. Have a great day.